Now we have done new brake job on the entire truck. We have done new brake job on the front axle, the rear axle, or one wheel. What we're going to do now is, if there's brake service done where the brakes are taken apart and put back together again on a truck, and it doesn't know where it is in the wear cycle. It could be 30%, 40%, 50%. So the way it measures it now is we wind the brakes back to zero, which means we find the bottom, we set the bottom. And by setting the bottom, that means that we back the slack adjuster all the way down until the rollers in the shoes settle into the bottom of the cam. That's called the bottom, where you start out with a brand new brake job. So, to set the bottom, I'm going to take this particular one and crank it. So we crank it back until the rollers seat into the cam, and it can go no further. In fact, if we look down here, when I'm cranking it, it'll start to draw the slack adjuster out. That means it's gone further than the bottom. So we want to wind it back in till it just settles. That's the bottom. So now to set that bottom, we'll do it on both these. This is the whole front axle we're going to do. So I'll wind it down until it settles into the bottom. And it starts to draw, it's drawing out. So I'm going to set it back in. There, the bottom is set. So now we will shut off the power and turn it back on and get into setup. By holding our finger in the center and waiting until after Eagle Eye brake monitor screen disappears. Okay, so what happened there was I let my finger off sometime in the cycle and it didn't work. So we're going to repeat the process because it didn't go into setup. You hold our finger there. After this, it should go into that screen. There. Now it's loading setup. Now it's going to say new brake job. No, we're not doing a new brake job. We did some service. It's not new brake job. So we say no. And we want to go into setup mode. And we say yes, because we're going to set it up. And it's going to say set the bottom, set the radius, or set the stroke. Well, we're going to set the bottom. Remember, we wound it all the way down till the rollers were in the bottom of the cam. So we're going to say we're going to set the bottom. So we hit set bottom. And it's asking us now, well, what axle? Front, back, whatever. So we say, well, it's the front axle. So we're going to select it. We push the plus to go to 1, axle 1, 2, 3. That's too high. Down, down. 1, axle 1. So we hit axle 1. Is the left side in the bottom position? Yes. So we go left. It's setting the left. Now, do we want to set the right? Yes. So we set the right. And now we can get back out by going cancel. And we could shut it off. Now, when we turn it back on, it will know where the bottom is. And it'll know how much wear there is. So we're going to turn it back on now. And it's going to reboot. Now we're going to set up our brakes back to where they would be. If it had, our brakes don't, for this demo, don't have drums. So we're going to assume a place and say, that's it. So I'm going to crank it up here for a while. And we'll do the same with the other one. On the left side, we'll crank it up. Now we'll assume that it's hitting the drum, and then we back it back a quarter turn, and sometimes a little. And we back this one back quarter turn and a little. So now the brakes are adjusted again, and we want to find out we want to do a calibration so that the stroke works. So let's try a calibration. And remember, calibration, we are in the stroke screen, so we just hold our finger on stroke, and it says calibrate, we say yes. Chalk the wheels, make sure that they're not going to roll anywhere, okay. Release the brakes, okay. Pressure over 100 pounds, okay. Calibrate, this is your last chance. Yes, we want to calibrate, yes. Go ahead to the strokes. Now, we can measure stroke, as usual, and then we'll go and find out what is the wear. So if we go into the wear screen, it says it's 9% on one side and 12% on the other, because we started from the bottom and we went up to a full adjustment to what we have now. So that is the way you can set individual wheels after a brake service. If you ever take them apart and you want to put them back together again and it doesn't go together exactly the same, then you should set the bottom and then calibrate.